Good day, everyone. Today, we are already on the quarter three. Again, this is English 9, and our topic is differentiating biases from prejudices. And this is your teacher, Teacher JM. For today's lesson, our enabling competences are reflecting on the speaker's ideas, sharing personal opinions on the ideas listened to, forming decisions based on ideas mentioned. Through accomplishing the learning task on this lesson, you will be given opportunities to reflect on speakers' ideas, share opinions, and form decisions based on ideas presented to you. Eventually, it will help you be more critical on evaluating ideas, such as differentiating biases from prejudices, to form keen judgment and stand on social related issues at present. I have here some comics, and I want you to state your agreement or disagreement with the picture or the comics, and of course, state your reason. The first picture states that studying from home is a safe bubble. So, do you agree or disagree with this statement? And what is your reason? For second picture, I have here the vaccination process. Do you agree to be vaccinated or disagree? Again, I want you to state your reason. In various occasions, you are asked to express views or opinions on particular matters. When you do this, your statements may contain factual information or subjective content. So, what do we mean by factual information? Factual information are statements that can be verified or proven to be true, while subjective content involves judgment, feeling, opinion, intuition, or emotion rather than factual information. I want you to look at examples of factual information here. Jose Rizal wrote Noli Me Tangere. About 4.5 Filipinos have lost their jobs this year, with an employment rate at 10.4%, the highest in 15 years. The government reported due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Garnering 70% of the viewers' vote, the finalists from Visayas won the reality show. So these are examples of factual information. It is because these are statements that can be verified or proven to be true. Here are examples of a subjective content information. For me, Jose Rizal's No Limit Tangere is an eye-opener that helps us realize the ills of the society. In my opinion, the government should extend additional assistance to Filipinos who suffered from unemployment due to the pandemic. I believe the winner deserves victory due to his commendable social skills when dealing with others. So these are an example of a subjective content. It is because it comes from judgment, it comes from opinion, feeling, or emotion rather than factual information. All right. So in the activity earlier, you might have provided factual information or express subjective content to justify your choice. That is on our activity with the comics. It is equally important to know how to distinguish the two when listening to a speaker or reading an article when gathering information. For situations that call for a valuable input from you, it is important that you know these two important concepts so that you may be able to balance them to form a strong argument. So I have here the video of President Barack Obama, ex-president. The title of this video is There Were No Winners in This Government Shutdown. So I want you to watch on this video, and later on I will be asking you to answer few questions. So enjoy watching and you can take notes.
Hi, everybody. This week, because Democrats and responsible Republicans came together, the government was reopened, and the threat of default was removed from our economy. There's been a lot of discussion lately of the politics of this shutdown, but the truth is, there were no winners in this. At a time when our economy needs more growth and more jobs, the manufactured crisis of these last few weeks actually harmed jobs and growth. And it's understandable that your frustration with what goes on in Washington has never been higher. The way business is done in Washington has to change. Now that these clouds of crisis and uncertainty have lifted, we need to focus on what the majority of Americans sent us here to do: grow the economy, create good jobs, strengthen the middle class, lay the foundation for broad-based prosperity, and get our fiscal house in order for the long haul. It won't be easy, but we can make progress. Specifically, there are three places where I believe that Democrats and Republicans can work together right away. First, we should sit down and pursue a balanced approach to a responsible budget, one that grows our economy faster and shrinks our long-term deficits further. There's no choice between growth and fiscal responsibility. We need both. So we're making a serious mistake if a budget doesn't focus on what you're focused on: creating more good jobs that pay better wages. If we're going to free up resources for the things that help us grow, education, infrastructure, research, we should cut what we don't need and close corporate tax loopholes that don't help create jobs. It shouldn't be as difficult as it's been in past years. Remember, our deficits are shrinking, not growing. Second, we should finish the job of fixing our broken immigration system. There's already a broad coalition across America that's behind this effort, from business leaders to faith leaders to law enforcement. It would grow our economy. It would secure our borders. The Senate has already passed a bill with strong bipartisan support. Now the House should too. The majority of Americans think this is the right thing to do. It can and should get done by the end of this year. Third, we should pass a farm bill, one that America's farmers and ranchers can depend on, one that protects vulnerable children and adults in times of need, and one that gives rural communities opportunities to grow and the longer-term certainty they deserve. We won't suddenly agree on everything now that the cloud of crisis has passed, but we shouldn't hold back on places where we do agree, just because we don't think it's good politics, or just because the extremes in our parties don't like compromise. I'll look for willing partners from either party to get important work done. There's no good reason why we can't govern responsibly without lurching from manufactured crisis to manufactured crisis. Because that isn't governing. It's just hurting the people we were sent here to serve. Those of us who have the privilege to serve this country have an obligation to do our job the best we can. We come from different parties, but we're Americans first, and our obligations to you must compel all of us, Democrats and Republicans, to cooperate and compromise and act in the best interests of this country that we love. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Okay, so that was the video of President Barack Obama stating that there were no winners in this government shutdown. All right. So from the statements below, that are taken from President Obama's address, identify which among the statements contain factual information or subjective content. Write F for factual and S for subjective. You may write your answers on a pad paper or your notebook. Number one, there were no winners in this government shutdown. Is it a factual or subjective? Number two, at a time when our economy needs more growth and more jobs, the manufactured crisis of these last few weeks actually harmed jobs and growth. Is this factual or subjective? Number three, the Senate has already passed a bill with strong bipartisan support. Again, is this a factual or subjective? Number four, first, we should sit down and pursue a balanced approach to a responsible budget, one that grows our economy faster and shrinks our long term deficits further. You may write your answer. Is this a factual or subjective? And lastly, second, we should finish the job of fixing our broken immigration system. There's already a broad coalition across America that's behind their effort, from business leaders to faith leaders to law enforcement. It would grow our economy. Is this a factual or subjective? This time, we will read an excerpt from President Manuel L. Quezon's speech. Again, in your pad paper or notebook, write down three statements indicating factual information and three statements expressing subjective content from the speech. This is an excerpt from President Manuel L. Quezon's speech. My fellow citizens, it affords me an indescribable satisfaction to be able to announce to you that on this, the 41st anniversary of the martyrdom of the founder and greatest exponent of Philippine nationalism, I had the privilege of issuing, in pursuance of the mandate of the Constitution and of existing law, an executive order designating one of the native languages as the basis for the national language of the Filipino people. For over 300 years that Spain exercised sovereignty over the Philippines, Spanish was the official language. Nevertheless, when the United States took possession and control of these islands, Spanish had not become the common language of our people. With the establishment of the American regime, English became the official language of our country. But despite the fact that English has been taught in all our public schools for more than a generation, it has not become the language of our people. Today, there is not one language that is spoken and understood by all Filipinos, nor even by a majority of them, which simply proves that while the teaching of a foreign language may be exposed upon a people, it can never replace the native tongue as a medium of national expression among the common masses. This is because, as Rizal asserted, the national thought takes its roots in a common language which develops and grows with the progress of the nation. We may borrow for a time the language of other peoples, But we cannot truly possess a national language except through the adoption, development, and use of one of our own. There was a time when it seemed that it would be impossible for the Filipinos to agree that one of the native languages be chosen as the national language. But at last, we have all realized that if we are willing to accept a foreign language as the official language of the Philippines, with more reason, we should accept one of our own languages as the national language of our common country. Without giving undue importance to the role that a common language plays in the life of a people, we may point to the fact that in the Orient of one nation which has made the greatest progress and which has won a high place in the family of nations is the only nation that has one common language, Japan. In every other nation which has attained the highest state of culture, solidarity, and power, both on the American continent and in Europe, and even in Africa, is a nation that possesses a common national language. Today, with the adoption of Tagalog as the basis for the national language of the Philippines, we have accomplished one of the most cherished dreams of Rizal. In no better way could we have honored his sacred memory on this anniversary of his emulation to the cause of our free nationhood. I wish you all a happy new year. What an inspiring speech. Now, it is time to write your three statements indicating factual information and three statements expressing subjective content from the speech. As we all know, an editorial is a journalistic piece of writing that expresses the writer's thoughts and opinions on a certain issue. For your task, choose only one among the current issues given below and write an editorial article about it. 1. Administration of COVID-19 vaccine. 2. Mental illness stigma in the Philippines. 3. Resumption of face-to-face classes. Your article should consist of 200 to 300 words. It should contain at least two sentences stating factual information and three sentences expressing subjective content. Underline or highlight three sentences. These sentences. Write your article in one whole sheet of paper. Your rubric for this activity: voice 25%, organization 25%, factual information 25%, subjective content 25%, with a total of 100%. To end this lesson and to summarize this lesson, factual information are statements that can be verified or proven to be true, and it is consists of figures or numerical data, results of researches, and general truth or established facts. While subjective content are statements that involve judgment, feeling, opinion, intuition, or emotion, consist of personal views and comments, emotional facts, individual preferences, and adjectives based on one's perspective. For your quiz, read the following pairs of sentences. Decide which is a factual and which is a subjective between the two. 1. Catering to more than 6,000 students, Luis Palad Integrated High School is the largest school in the division of Tayabas City. It is a privilege to finish secondary education at Luis Palad Integrated High School. 2. Tayabas City is a home to established Tayabasin artists such as Manuel Hamilano, Tipin Rosales de Lazar, Delfin Antiola, and Jose Romero. I am proud of local artists from my hometown, Tayabas City. 3. Online distance learning is more fun than modular due to virtual interaction with teachers and classmates every now and then. Before the beginning of school year, LPIHS conducted a survey to identify students who can be subjective under modular distance learning and online distance learning. 4. The Isle of Basilica Minor de Tayabas is perfect for the bride's most memorable walk in her life. The Basilica Minor de Tayabas is known for having the longest aisle among the churches built during the Spanish colonial era. 5. Malagonlong Bridge is one among the Spanish-era bridges in Tayabas. The thought of children said to be kidnapped and their blood used in the construction of bridges to make them strong and stand the test of time is scary. This test was also posted in your Google Classroom classwork. For your reflection for this lesson, reflect on what you learned on this lesson about factual information and subjective content by completing the statements below. Number 1, the aspect of the lesson I believe I learned most about is 2. The task which I found the most challenging is blank because 3. I realized that I can use the things I learned from this lesson when remember, you can have your own opinions, but you can't have your own facts. If you don't understand it fully, don't speak on it. Too many people have full opinions with half the facts. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. Thank you for listening today, and I hope that you learn and enjoy our lesson. Goodbye, class.